Clem, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And this week on Turn to the Stars, I am going to be talking about the Cardinal Grand Cross that is active between the months of April 2014 and May of 2014. And today being April 22nd of 2014, we are right in the midst of the sequence of Cardinal Cross aspects that are occurring in our universe between the planets Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and Uranus. And I'm going to be talking about that during the course of today's show. And I'm actually going to show you the sequence as these formations have occurred, and show you the actual charts that where that appearance is occurring in our universe every single day. And so but before I go into that, at Turn to the Stars, I always like to let everyone know what we're doing, what our calendar of events is, and we are having on May 3rd our 24th Psychic and Holistic Fair, and that is going to be at the Yard Restaurant in Manchester. And we're very excited because we're going into our 4th year of facilitating these great events, and the community is just really responded. So it's definitely something that is helping people along their life's journey. So I made a video to let our public know, to let our community know who is participating. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then I'm going to come right back and talk about the Cardinal Grand Cross of 2014. So I hope you enjoy the video. I'll be right back. on May 3rd, 2014 at the Yard Restaurant, and we do want to thank the Yard for providing this place for us to have these incredible events. They're a wonderful group. They're like one big family. So it's very exciting, and the theme of this event is a sharing of our gifts. And so we will look forward to seeing you on May 3rd, and it should be a great day. And coming back to the topic of today's show, you've been hearing me talk about on past Turn to the Stars shows the 4 blood moons, especially last week, the 4 blood moons or the total lunar eclipses that are occurring this year and next year. And just prior to the total lunar eclipse that occurred on April 15th, 2 days earlier, April 13th, a cardinal Grand Cross was formed between the planets Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, and Uranus. And the energy is holding on between these planets until May 5th, when it finally begins to separate. And what happens is, in astrology, we study the angle of relationship between these planets and what those angles mean, what they portray. Are those angles which are easy angles? Are these angles which are harmonious? Are they opposing forces? Or are they creating challenges and tension? Or are they delivering gifts? And what's happening between these planets is being called a quantum gateway for major change in the world. And I actually have a quantum change picture of what this looks like. There it is. And this is what we're calling the Cardinal Grand Cross between the planet Pluto, which you see over to the left. The symbol for Pluto is depicted there. And Pluto is is the planet that supports major transformations. And it indicates that all systems, our politics, our government, our corporations, leaders, and our lifestyles are going through a major transformation. And you can then see that Pluto is in the constellation of Capricorn, which is indicative of all of these different areas I just mentioned going through major transformations. And Pluto is exactly opposite Jupiter. You see Jupiter down in the right-hand corner in Cancer. And Jupiter is a planet of major expansion. It rules over that energy. Wherever it is, it expands on it. So it is telling us that we are expanding in areas of gentleness, of kindness, and caring, especially for our families and for those who are in need of care. And it reminds us to get out of our head and to get into our heart, to be of service and to be of help, and that we do have the emotional intelligence. And it does remind us that heart is where home is, and home is where the heart is. And you see that we have this opposing force going on here. Cardinal crosses are very indicative of activity. And it is raising our awareness that we are in the process of some major transformation and that we are in a process of major expansion. How do we work together with that energy? And if we put that picture back up on the screen, we can see that up in the right-hand corner, the other planets that are in helping to form this cross in our universe of energy is Mars. Mars is the planet of action and activity. It is muscle. It is the planet that actually inspires us to move. And Mars is in the constellation of Libra. the sign of relationships, and what is indicating that there are major changes and that we're volatile, and that justice, truth, and transparency in relationships, in our marriage relationships, our most personal relationships, is encouraging us to fight for our cause. And it also, though, is encouraging or sort of bringing to light the places that are out of balance in our relationships. And it's also sort of supporting us to fight for what we believe in, to fight for a cause, to fight for justice. But at this time, we're actually going through this inner look at how that can happen until around the middle of May. And on the other end of that cross, of that quantum gateway, if we put that picture up one more time, you can see on the bottom left that we have the planet Uranus in the constellation of Aries, and it is exactly opposing Mars. So here we have this string of connection, string of opposition, and what Uranus is doing as it moves through the constellation of Aries is causing major quantum shifts. And that is, in our society, we are seeing people that are speaking out that they want to be free to act, and there's rebellion, there's revolution. We see these things happening everywhere. We see things happening which are out of our control, that we're doing everything we can to keep things together, but we are also being awakened to what our visions are, what our conscious desires are, and there's this consciousness of the unity that's in the I am diversity, because Aries is a sign of the self. So, as I was getting ready to prepare this show, I was thinking a lot about the children of the world and the children in the United States and the pressure and the tension that is being felt and experienced, and the children that are looking for attention, and so they're rebelling and they're acting out because they don't know what else to do. Even my own daughter, who's 16 years old, the amount of responsibility that they're given at such a young age is very hard to manage. And we are seeing that the human body is actually rebelling, and the human mind, the human emotion. The human is made up of a spirit, a soul, a mind, and a body. And the level of tension and the level of challenges that we are facing is really encouraging us to reach out to each other for help and to work together. This Cardinal Grand Cross is quite a tension-filled planetary pattern, and it does warn us that the latter part, as I said earlier in the show, April through May, actually April 13th was the first time we saw this coming together of this Grand Cardinal Cross. And I'm going to actually show you a series of charts. This one's April 13th. You see right in the middle, it looks like there's a cross going right through the chart, and on all around the cross there's these lines that have squares. That is the Grand Cardinal Cross. This is what it looked like on April 13th. April 14th is the next. We see the same thing, the same formation. April 14th. April 15th, we see the same thing. April 16th, we see the same thing. The Grand Cardinal Cross. April 17th, the Grand Cardinal Cross. And this is about the same time every day. April 18th. And then April 19th, we see the same thing again. April 20th, the Grand Cardinal Cross. April 21st, which was yesterday. I'm going to hold on this picture just for a minute, because this is actually the fifth time that the planets, the power planets, Pluto and Uranus, actually formed in an exact square. And that is indicative of the fifth time that we are experiencing change on a cellular, deep, transformational, and change which is very, very unique to our time and our evolution. And if you look at the top right side of the chart, which is probably around 2 o'clock, we see Uranus, the symbol which looks like an hourglass, exactly at 13 degrees and 34 minutes in the constellation of Aries. And if we take our hand and we slide it down that red line that has a square in it to the planet Pluto, which looks like a cross with a little figure reaching to the heavens, and that's the symbol for Pluto, and it is exactly at 13 degrees of Cap in the constellation of Capricorn in 34 minutes. That is the square I'm talking about, and what that square is doing, it is really wanting us to take the steps that are necessary with great caution to work with the changes that are upon us. We have no choice. There is a lot of things that are changing structurally. We see it with the earth. We see a lot of death. We see a lot of people leaving the earth at this time with these unusual, very weird experiences. And there's so much that is to be said about that Grand Cardinal Cross, but that was yesterday, April 21st. And I want to come back, though, and what it really does, though, before I move, what that does is it inspires us to use our voices, to express what's in our hearts. And I'm going to come back and slide through the rest of those charts, starting with April 22nd, which is today. There's April 22nd, we see the Grand Cardinal Cross, and then April 23rd, April 24th, April 25th, April 26th, April 27th, April 28th, April 29th, and April 29th, can we go back to that? There we see at the bottom is a solar eclipse. And we are today, April 22nd, at the time period right between these two eclipses. One, we had the lunar eclipse, April 15th. This is the annular solar eclipse. You've seen me talk about this on past shows. And we still see that Grand Cardinal Cross. And then we go to April 30th. April 30th, and then we go to May, I think we have May 1st, the Grand Cardinal Cross. We still see it happening. May 2nd, May 3rd, and May 4th, and then May 5th, we see where the arrow is pointing, it's beginning to break apart. This tension, we're starting to have some relief from, it's sort of like being in a pressure cooker to have this intense amount of energy around us. So this planetary patterns do warn us that there is a potential during this time to envision that which we can accomplish. And it also is very tiring to be going through this energy. So if you're tired, it's probably not a good idea to push beyond the realms of your boundaries. Cardinal actually means, if we could take that chart off the screen for a minute, cardinal, the word cardinal actually means hinge or a turning point. So we are at a turning point, and these Grand Cardinal Crosses, have started to occur. This cardinal type tension and energy or stressors to move through this time of change actually started occurring in 2012 and will continue until 2015, and will have points that you'll hear me be talking about on the shows where these crosses will really just completely come together. So they are really turning points in our cosmic history. And the exact cardinal cross as you heard me say before, on April 21st, we saw the fifth square that was occurring between Uranus and Pluto. Very, very important. There's actually 7 of those. So the total lunar eclipse that we saw on April 15th was very closely coupled with the North Node, which was showing us the best direction is one that brings us together. And once we don't go through and it wants us to remember that we're not here to go through this alone. Any part of what we're experiencing, that we need to reach out to each other. It's a direction that this North Node is pointing us in, that it really wants us to be really cognitive of each other. And the lunar eclipse that occurred on the 15th was occurring, as you heard me say in the last show, on the Libra-Aries axis. And it had the North Node combined, and it is our relationships and ourselves. Relationships is Libra, ourselves is the Aryan axis. That is where our biggest and most valuable changes and a lot of learning will be accomplished over the next couple years in these areas. Relationships actually are what's becoming our teacher during this time. And as you know, and you've heard me say from past shows, eclipses are the inspiration. They are the portal that provides us with an opportunity for change. And the Grand Cardinal Cross that you just saw in the charts that I had on the screen, they are actually the conductor for this portal of energy that we need in order for changes to occur. So it's like, there's so many different ways that the universe is saying to us, let's change these things. Let's change these structures. They are no longer serving us. And so the weeks that surround April 15th through April 29th, actually, that is the time between the eclipses. And what that time period does, it brings to the surface for each of us issues that we have issues that have been long hidden from us or have remained in the shadows, especially in those areas where the eclipse would fall in your personal astrology chart. So the parts of our psyche that can't resonate with this frequency will show us, these things will come up for us. Experiences will occur for us to address any issues that are going on in either relationships or with us personally. And there will be new experiences which will encourage us to step up to the plate, to manage our lives in different ways than we have done in the past. So really want to think about how you've managed experiences and relationships in the past, how you have personally decided, how you have come to conclusions, how you have made decisions. This access reminds us that we need to do this together, not by ourselves, that we need to connect. That's what oppositions do. And these 4 planets that are in opposition, what they're doing is signaling awareness. And the squares between the planets, which are those 90-degree angles, are actually signaling that we are in a place of crisis, and that there's pressure, and that there is a great need to solve these problems that are showing up in our lives. Cardinal signs, which are the Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, and Aries, are the initiating signs. They set things in motion, and they can influence us to get way overstimulated, moving into directions, not just one direction, many directions all at once. So if you have any planets in your birth chart, if you know your birth chart, if you don't, then you could certainly connect with or contact Turn to the Stars or come to our fair if that's of interest to you on May 3rd. But if you have any planets in your birth chart around the degrees of 13, you will be a vehicle that is manifesting. You personally will be manifesting these powerfully focused energies in your life. And so you need to be very careful with your actions, how you proceed, how you respond. You'll need to slow down and focus your energy. You should be aware that you're being flooded with more energy than you have ever held before. And that energy is just really embracing you to make changes in your life. This energy and pressure has been growing in form since the new moon, which was at the end of March. And if you look back, I'm sure you can resonate with that statement. So, and in the United States, this Grand Cross does heavily impact the natal birth chart of our country, which was formed on July 4th, 1776. And it sets off the birth sun squaring Saturn, and it suggests that there is a split in our national character. So, things that you can do to manage this energy with more ease is certainly be polite, take good care of yourself, talk with the people affected by the decisions that you would like to make before you make them. When appropriate, take precautionary measures, but you need to stand up for yourself and be fair. Compromise is very, very, very important. Ask others for their thoughts and their opinions. And finally, keep up with your friends. Cheerlead their projects. Support them. Let them know that you're there. And I'm sure they'll do the same with you. For you. Spend time getting to know yourself. That means spend time alone. So that's some good advice for this April-May period of time in 2014. And I want to say thank you so much for watching Turn to the Stars. And turn to the stars. You'll find your answers there. And until next week, take good care. I'll see you then.